In life, we sometimes believe that pain is a sign of weakness. But have you ever thought pain is also a teacher? It breaks us, yes, but it also shapes us like clay that must be pressed, squeezed, and molded before it becomes strong. We are the same. If we never face pressure, we never discover who we truly are. And if we let others shape us with their opinions, our life slowly becomes a sculpture carved by someone else's hands. Let's see what today's story teaches us. There was once a young man who worked in a small workshop. His master was a quiet, thoughtful old sculptor who had spent his life carving stone every day. The young man chiseled blocks of marble, but he constantly doubted himself. People around him told him he wasn't talented. They said others would do the job better. Hearing this again and again, the young man started believing it. One afternoon, while working, the young man struck the stone too hard. The sculpture cracked. His heart cracked with it. Feeling defeated, he sat in the corner, covering his face. The master slowly walked over and asked, "Why are you crying?" The young man whispered, "I break everything I touch. Everyone says I will never be great." The old man looked at him and softly smiled. "Do you think you are broken?" The young man nodded quietly. The master paused for a moment and said, "Then tomorrow, I want you to do something. Take this cracked sculpture and throw it away into the forest." The young man didn't understand, but agreed. Early next morning, he carried the broken stone into the woods. He placed it near a river and returned to the workshop. A week passed. The master told him, "Go and look at the stone again." Curious, the young man went back to the forest. To his surprise, the cracked sculpture was gone. Not destroyed, gone. He searched around until he noticed something. A group of birds had built a nest inside the cracked opening. The broken piece had become a shelter. The young man returned to the workshop and told the master what he saw. The master nodded and said, "You see, even a broken stone can become a home. Its value doesn't disappear just because it cracked." The young man sat silently, hearing the truth in every word. "Now listen carefully," the old sculptor continued. "In life, you will break, you will bend, you will fail. People will try to define you by those moments. But remember, a crack does not end your story. Sometimes it begins a new one." The young man asked, "But what about the people who say I'm not good enough?" The master replied, "You make one mistake. You let others hold the chisel. You let their words carve your identity." He pointed to a large block of marble. "This stone becomes what you decide to shape it into, not what others tell you to carve." The old man then placed a small chisel in the young man's hand. "From today on, never let anyone else decide your worth. You define your future, not them." Inspired, the young man returned to his work with a new spirit. Every strike of the hammer became more confident. Every piece he shaped came from his heart, not from his fear. Months later, his sculptures began to attract attention. People admired the emotion in them, and they asked him, "How did you learn to create such powerful art?" The young man smiled and said, "I learned that being broken does not mean being worthless. I learned that a crack can be a doorway to strength." Years passed, and the young man became a master sculptor himself. One day, he visited his old teacher, who was now too weak to work. He said, "Master, your lesson changed my life." The old man smiled and whispered, "My boy, I only taught you one thing." The young man asked, "What is that?" The master replied, "When life breaks you, don't throw yourself away. Use the broken pieces to build something unshakable." Then he added softly, "And never let anyone else decide what you become. That is the secret. Because if people define you, they will limit you. But if you define yourself, your future becomes limitless." That day, the young man finally understood. He was not broken anymore. He was unshakable.